people don't realize, like, they see water and just think that it's just water. But to me, this is so much more. There's so much history here for me. This is my ancestral homeland. To know that my family has been in this area and walked these probably same trails, same water, same everything, gathered from these same places, and to think of that being gone, it takes a part of me. You know, we've lost so much, and to think of something else being gone is heartbreaking. I'm trying not to tear up a little bit, but.
Kumimseu, Tuninseu, Nemseu, the different words and names of this river by the different Nisenan families who associate their tribal lineages with this area. And I mean, you can see for yourself, this is an amazing river corridor that we're standing in today, and the threat of this being inundated is very tragic, especially for the Nisenan people, to even consider that more of the cultural landscape would be inundated yet again.
The river is life, it's family, it's tradition, it's who I am. That's when I first heard about Centennial Dam, when I first heard about this project, it broke my heart. This river has been part of my life. Like, I grew up here, I'm still here, and to think that part of my family and part of my history could just be gone.
The Bear River flows right directly through the center of Nisenan territory, and many of our cultural burial grounds and burning grounds and cultural landscapes, old town sites, are already under many of our other local reservoirs that have happened in the past. Scott's Flat, Lake Wildwood, Bullard's Bar, Englebright Dam, Rollins Lake. We have petroglyphs that are inundated at Rollins Lake. So we have this history already of losing and erasing the Nisenan culture over and over and over again. So to do it again in our generation it's very hard to accept, especially if there are other alternatives to a dam.
To take that is basically wiping out the village sites that were along the river. To take that out would be cremations that could be here, the bodies that are buried here. You know, just because you see a patch of trees now doesn't mean that there wasn't something there before. And those bodies, those sites deserve that respect to remain how they are.
So if I was standing in the Nevada City Catholic Cemetery and talking about a project that was possibly coming to inundate and flood that cemetery, I think people would have a lot harder time agreeing with the idea of putting a dam on top of that cemetery. I think because the visual cues of the headstones and the gravestones are so ingrained in our minds as graveyards and what you do and don't do in graveyards, just because our graveyards aren't visible like that doesn't make it any more appropriate. And to recreate on top of Nisenan graves, to have that as drinking water, you know, we were kidding around, and it's really not that funny actually, but don't make Gravewater Lake. You know, who wants to, totally kidding, have to preface that with my little disclaimer, you know, when we were talking about, does drinking grave water make you a cannibal? You know, I mean, I can laugh about it because it's so absurd, but really that is the reality that we're being asked to buy into with this new dam.
People would be so mad if you went to just a regular cemetery and started digging those bodies up. So what makes it different than Indian bodies? Because we're in your way? We deserve the same respect. We're not the second-class citizens. We were here. We've been here before everybody else. So how is it fair to disrespect them and not let them be where they need to be?
Thank you.
The Nisenan people are the people who are here, and that's generally what the word means, is us people here. But as a people, we're family. At the end of the day, that's who we are, is we're family. It's like I can go from what is now considered Nevada County to El Dorado County to Placer County to parts of Sacramento County. That's all family. We're all connected. We're all one big circle. It wasn't until recently that all these county lines divided us, and it's like, oh, here's Nevada City, here's Colfax, here's Auburn, that wasn't a thing before. We're still here, we're still surviving. And that's the one thing I think as an Indian person people need to appreciate and realize is we're not supposed to be here. We were supposed to be dead. If the government had had its way of what they wanted, we'd be dead. And to survive that, to know you have that strength to still be here is an amazing feeling to me.
So for some people, for some families who came out here during the gold rush, they immigrated here to find their fortunes. That's a great piece of their family story. But for the Nisenan people, the gold rush was not a good piece of our history. Many people died, and many people were forcefully removed from their homes.
I think that people have the misinterpretation that things don't happen here, because I think because of the Nisenan culture, it is quiet. One thing that I grew up with, and it's hard for people to understand still, is that I was told, and it was a tradition, that you don't tell people things. Not necessarily other Indians, but you don't tell basically white people things because they'll take it from you. And that was something that's been passed down from generation. I think it was more the fear of losing what we had. And people see the river and think, oh, there's no Indians here, there's no life here. But we practice our ceremonies here. You know, we still bathe our babies in the river after they're born. We still come here and our girls do their ceremonies. It's like when they become women, that's something that's important to them. That's something that you can't take from them. That's a special time in their life. And to do it where our homelands are, where our ancestral territories are, is so important. Because this is where you're from. This is where our creation is. This is where we come from. This is where we descend from. To take that is taking away a living culture. We're still alive. We're not dead. We're not gone. We're still here. And I think people get confused because they don't see us. But we're here. We're very present.
The families do participate. I know some of the families are still holding uninterrupted Nisenan cultural ceremonies here on this very river that have been uninterrupted. That is a miracle. Everything we have was interrupted. And so that Nisenan are still participating on this exact waterway in an uninterrupted way is mind-blowing to me. I do have family members who rely on waterways just like this to get their basket materials and their medicine. They still do it in an uninterrupted way. And to lose that yet again, I just don't have words to even explain, because it's trauma. It's trauma to the Nisenan people, it's trauma to our local community, it's trauma to the environment. It's trauma to everything that lives and breathes here. And it's just reigniting that trauma, conversations like this. Sorry, that was a long, really long ramble. Thinking out loud and putting it all together is just, that's really heavy.
Currently, NID is trying to build a dam along this river, which currently where we're standing would be 100 feet underwater. It would be completely gone. Basically trying to take the river is trying to take the last piece of who we are. We'll still survive as a people, but it'll just be another part of history that you're erasing from us. in who we are.
Some of these landmarks are important to our generation, even though they're not ancient Nisenan burial grounds, which would be inundated by the building of Centennial Dam. But Dog Bar, 174 Bridge, these are places we grew up. I learned to drive on these roads, and our local community, who may not have been here as long as the Nisenan, but there's a whole generation or 2 or 3 of people who live and grew up around these landscapes and these landmarks that are in threat of being inundated.
Go Nisenan people, we stand with the Nisenan people. Bear River. I'm Mexica, and my ancestry is from the Nevada people, also in the Mexica people. And we represent all cultures and all nations throughout the world. And I just kind of wanted to put a shout out to, we're standing with the Nisenan and the Bear River, because one river is all rivers throughout the world, and it's a very vital and sacred thing that's being desecrated throughout the world.
It's been brought to my attention through the winds and the birds that the Nisenan Nation has been battling over their land, over a big dam. And it sounds very familiar to what the Haida people have been through back in the early 1980s, except up here we were fighting the Canadian government and big logging companies to protect our forests.
In British Columbia, a dispute over the future of a wilderness area in the Queen Charlotte Islands has led to a confrontation. The loggers and the Indians have been negotiating unsuccessfully for the past 12 years. This week, a group of Haida Indians began obstructing the passage of logging crews into the South Moresby area.
These trees used to be plentiful all along the coast. Today, the Queen Charlotte Islands are the last mother lode of this green gold. Last Wednesday morning, a group of Haida came to Sedgwick Bay on Lyle Island to protect this lifestyle.
You're breaking the law, and you're stopping us from going to work, and we ask you step aside and let us continue.
There will be no logging on the area that the Haida people have designated as not to be touched. This is Haida land, and there'll be no further logging in this area.
What you're looking at here behind me are all mortuary poles. These are tombs for the chiefs and people of high esteem. The logging was coming down to the southern end of Guayhanas, but the Haida people felt the need to blockade it in 1986. So if the good people back then didn't stand up and fight for the forest, who knows what could have become of these poles. The logging companies could have easily moved them down or taken them down and made room for all the industrial action. So I just think it's right, again, regardless of race, creed, skin color, no matter where you come from, everybody in the world should have an ancestral link like this that they could come back to and reconnect with their past and their ancestors. We were fighting the Canadian government and big logging companies to protect our forests, and we were successful and we were able to protect our lands. So if it could be done by a little tribe up north in Canada, it could definitely be done by a tribe down in the south. Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that you have my support, you have the Haida Nation's support, and we wish you guys nothing but the best in your future endeavors.
I think it's amazing that from all parts of the world, we're being heard. I like how in the video that he said that it's important to have a tie to your ancestral homelands. And that's here. That's the Bear River, that's Tuinseo, that's Nemseo, that's however you want to call it. That's part of who we are as Nisenan people. This is who we are.
The power of a flowing and moving river, the spirit behind that power is a real thing. And I think a lot of people who live here, you hear them say, this place called to me. It calls to me. People say it about the bear. People say it all the time about the Yuba. And it's a very real thing. But I want to know, what's your commitment to this place? What is your promise? to wherever you're living. I mean, that's what makes us Nisenan, is that we committed to a place, and we've been here a really, really, really long time. And we learned to live within this place in a way that was symbiotic with the landscape that's here, with the watershed, with all the animals. What are people willing to commit? And if you're going to live here, and people are called here, people come because they love, you know, these rivers. So what's your commitment?